Welcome to Assembly Calendar. I'm Mike Friesen, and with us for our program today, Assemblyman Mike Norris. Mike Norris represents the 144th Assembly District. That's an Assembly District that includes the counties of Erie, Niagara, and Orleans. And we want to thank you folks all across Western New York for tuning in for our program today. Thank you for stopping by. Mike Norris, thank you for stopping by, too.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
We've got lots to get caught up on as to what's going on here at the state capitol. Our charge to you is to let you folks know what's going on here at the state capitol and what your representative in Albany thinks about it all. So let's get right to that today. Our last program, Mike Norris, we looked at your swearing in. We talked about the ceremonial opening of the 2017 legislative session and all that business. Well, now your sleeves are rolled up and you're right there at the table working side by side with all your colleagues now. Didn't take long, did it?
No, they put us right in, and I tell you, I wanted to say that I'm very excited about my first bill that I've introduced in the New York State Assembly. You know, back in my district, there's a very important area in the town of Somerset, and right now there's a windmill project that has been proposed in that area. But the problem is that windmill project is very close to the Niagara Falls Air Reserve Station, which is located about 20 miles away. And as some of you recall, the constituents, through the BRAC Commission several years ago, the Niagara Falls Air Base was actually on the hit list. And we had several rallies. We all gathered together, together with Congressman Tom Reynolds at the time, including Secretary Hillary Clinton when she was in the United States Senate. Everyone came together in a bipartisan manner to actually make sure we save the base. Not only is it important for security for our region, also as an economic engine in terms of jobs and making sure there's a prosperous in that particular area. So what I have done with Senator Rob Ortt has introduced a bill that would prohibit any large-scale commercial wind project from being within 40 miles in New York State of an air reserve station.
Now I'm gonna jump in here. I'm gonna ask you a question because there's a lot of talk about the need for alternative energies in New York State, but it sounds like you are, on the one hand, almost limiting the possibility for wind energy to be happening in your assembly district area. Is there a reason that you don't want to have the windmills near the Air Force Base?
There is, because in terms of the air base itself, it is actually in the path of the flights that come through there. Also, it will impact radar in that particular area. So within the 40-mile radius, we don't believe, Senator Ortt and I, that these large-scale windmill projects should be there. And what I also say is that there's a second bill that I've introduced in terms of the individuals who live in a particular area for this Article 10 project. So I am not opposed to alternative wind or solar energies. I'm very concerned about subsidies, quite frankly, from both the federal government and the state government, and the taxpayers would fund these projects. But even putting that aside, in terms of the actual location and protecting the home rule, the second bill that I've introduced is that if the project goes through the Article 10 process, that it would require a permissive referendum of the people in that particular jurisdiction to whether or not they want to have the project in their area or not. I'm a big proponent of home rule and make local control, and that's the second bill that I've introduced in terms of this area.
Yeah, the wind energy is it's nice, but it can be overwhelming to an area to have all those windmills. There are some parts of the state that have, I guess they call them windmill farms, and it's just one after another for acres, and it has quite an impact on a lot of different things.
It certainly does, and in this area, not only is the air base a part of it, and the radar and the security, also, though, there's a migratory bird path through that area, and that's something that's also a concern there along Lake Ontario. But just in conclusion, again, on this particular topic, I'm very proud to say I've introduced that bill with Senator Rob Ortt, who's done it in the Senate. I've done it in the Assembly to prohibit any large-scale wind projects from 40 miles from an air base, and also the second bill that I've introduced that bill that would require a permissive referendum if you've gone through the Article 10 process to at least let the voters of that particular jurisdiction have the final say to whether or not they want a large-scale project like that in their jurisdiction.
And as I talked about rolling up your sleeves and getting to work, there was a huge debate in the State Assembly already. I'd say the first major debate of the year when a number of bills having to do with illegal immigration came up for debate in the Assembly chamber. And these bills, well, there's a number of different bills. One that had to deal with creation of sanctuary cities. Some say it almost would make New York to be a sanctuary state. There are some that call for what's known as the DREAM Act here at the state capitol, which would allow free college education for the children of illegal immigrants in New York State. So it was a very, very busy and a very long night here at the state capitol. I think that was probably your first taste of what's to come.
It certainly was. It was a long night, and it was a very vigorous debate. And just for the people back home, so they understand, I stood up and I voted against a lot of these bills, most particularly the DREAM Act. And what the DREAM Act is that it would fund college education up to the tune of $27 million for undocumented illegal immigrants. And I'm opposed to spending of that. It's about priorities and making sure that we focus in this budget on areas for all citizens of New York State, and I believe that's an important thing. Another part of that package was actually they wanted to change the term for the misdemeanor from a sentence of 365 days, what it is today, to actually 364 days. And that 1 day difference would make a big difference in terms of whether or not the illegal immigrants would be subject to deportation hearings. Because if they were convicted of a misdemeanor and they served 365 days, then they would be subject to it. The Assembly Democrats wanted to change that to allow more assistance to them. So again, I've stood up against these issues. They're not very good for the people of Western New York, and I look forward to continuing the fight.
It seems as if the Assembly majority, which are the Democrats here in this state, they seem to want to line up with a lot of what the national Democratic Party wants to do across the nation, which is, I guess, take it easy. I don't know if that's the correct phrase to use or not, on illegal immigrants in this country, and particularly making it difficult for the federal government, the police agencies, to do their work in tracking down and dealing with those illegal immigrants.
Micah, that was another bill that was on the floor of the Assembly that I voted against this last week, is where they wanted, the Assembly majority wanted to, quite frankly, make it a sanctuary state, and it would not allow local law enforcement agencies, whether it be the state and the local agency, to get involved in terms of investigations and looking at individuals who are illegal undocumented residents of the state of New York. So these are the types of things that concern me. Listen, I have no problem having immigrants. I'm a generations of immigrants, but the thing is that everyone should go through the process. Everyone should be vetted properly, and that would be my position. I have no objection to, we are a country of immigrants, but making sure we do it the proper way and we follow the proper channels.
What are you hearing about the proposal to allow ride-sharing services across New York State? As we all know, Uber and Lyft and some of the other services are very popular in New York City. But upstate communities are saying, why can't we have them too? And it's part of the discussion that seems to be going in the undercurrent right now here at the Capitol. What are you hearing about that? Is that undercurrent going to rise to the surface? Do you think there'll be a vote on ride-sharing services for upstate New York sometime soon?
Mike, I'm very optimistic that we will see this presented in the Assembly, whether it be a separate bill or actually through the budget process. Last week, the State Senate, and to credit Senator Ortt and Senator Ransoff, Senator Gallivan, Senator Jacobs from the Western New York region, all voted for ride-sharing services for upstate New York. And I'm hopeful that the bill will come to the Assembly floor, but I need the help of all the constituents back home. Please, on my website, there is a ride-sharing petition, and I encourage everyone to go to my website to sign on. And what I will do is present those names to the governor and to my Democratic colleagues in the Assembly to ensure that our voices are heard, that we want ride-sharing services for upstate New York. There's a lot of economic development reasons for this. In my particular district, we have the Lockport Locks, we have the Wine Trail, we have a great fishing industry along Lake Ontario. We have millions of individuals who are coming to Niagara Falls every year to see the locks. By having ride-sharing opportunities, this will allow many of those tourism individuals who are coming to Niagara Falls to come out into my district and to enjoy the wine trail, Lake Ontario, and also the fishing industry. So I think it's very, very important, not just for economic development for my district, but as well as the safety of individuals who like to have maybe a couple cocktails. This would provide them another alternative to get home safely and to protect us. I was together with Leader Kolb and other individuals who are supporting Uber. And Mothers Against Drunk Driving is also a big proponent of another opportunity, another avenue to have ride-sharing services to get everyone home safely.
A lot of people might not even be thinking of the safety aspect of the program like that, and how you just make a phone call and boom, you can get a ride anywhere you need to go. But I have talked to people. I don't travel that much. I need to get out more, I guess. But I have talked to people that have gone to areas where these ride-sharing services are, and they all say the same thing. It's so easy. It was great. I made the call and they were right there, and I got right where I wanted to go. And I think that's what the main thing people are so excited about, because they've seen it, they've experienced it in other places, and it's, well, why can't we have this here?
Right. It's very interactive. You pull out your phone, you hit the app, you let them know where you want to go, and boom, there's a driver there within several minutes. I've had a very good experience in Washington, D.C. I was at the airport at Reagan International, and then I went over to my hotel for President Trump's inauguration. We took Uber, and it was a great experience, and I encourage all the constituents back home to please go to my website again, sign up, let our voices be heard, and I will be happy to deliver those names of support to the governor and to my colleagues in the state legislature.
I got just a couple minutes left.
Sure.
Let me get a reaction on another issue that is being talked about a lot here at the state capitol, but my question will be whether you think there won't be any action taken this year. There's concerns about the salaries paid to people who provide care and services to people with developmental disabilities, to other healthcare industries, because minimum wage is going up for workers all across the state in the private sectors, but these workers are paid for through a combination of not-for-profits and some state funding, and are not subject to the same minimum wage increases. So a lot of people are going to work at hamburger places and all these other places where the minimum wage is going up. Those wages are staying low. People are worried about people not wanting to be in the industry providing the care anymore, and they're also worried about the quality of the people who are left who will be providing that care. What do you think? You think this is going to be dealt with this year?
I'm optimistic it will be dealt with, and it should be dealt with. There is a policy in the state of New York right now that fast food workers would receive a higher minimum wage than others, for like $15. In this particular case, many of these workers who are taking care of our disabled individuals, our adult senior citizens at home, are not receiving the same wage as the fast food workers. I think this is fundamentally unfair, and I'm a big proponent of raising up their particular salary to match those, at least for fast food workers. And these are the individuals who are taking care of our adults and our disabled individuals who quite frankly need a good care. The other thing I worry about is that some of these individuals who work for these particular agencies can go to other avenues. They can do other things. And by having a good, fair wage, I think that is a good step to making sure all of our individuals are protected in the state of New York.
That's going to do it for us today.
Thank
We're
you.
out of time. You folks want to know how you reach out to your representative. Easy thing for you to do. You can get a hold of Michael Norris at his office in Williamsville. Easiest thing, send an email to norrism@nyassembly.gov. We thank Michael Norris for joining us. We thank you folks too. See you soon for our next Assembly Calendar.